new open model, she been training it nightly. AI toolkit, she configures it tightly. Lost curves dropping down to the floor. Wondering if she's done or she should train it some more. Laura training, she trains on what she pleases. Laura training, no paying corporate sleazes. Laura training, this could be her best one. Why go outside? Laura training is too fun. She's caching all the latents, now she doesn't need a VA. Training on some voices, what will she make them say? Laura training, she trains on what she pleases. Laura training, no paying corporate sleazes. Laura training, this could be her best one. Why go outside? Laura training is too fun. She trains on what she pleases. Laura training, no paying corporate sleazes. Laura training, this could be her best one. Why go outside? Laura training is too fun. Laura training, she trains on what she pleases. Laura training, no paying corporate sleazes. Laura training, this could be her best one. Why go outside? Laura training is too fun. Converging, ah yeah, it's 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 converging. Laura. Laura, Laura, Laura training. A new open model, she been training it nightly. AI toolkit, she configures it tightly. Lost curves dropping down to the floor. Wondering if she's done or she should train it some more. Laura training, she trains on what she pleases. Laura training, no paying corporate sleazes. Laura training, this could be her best one. Why go outside? Laura training is too fun. She's caching all the latents, now she doesn't need a VA. Training on some voices, what will she make them say? Laura training, she trains on what she pleases. Laura training, no paying corporate sleazes. Laura training, this could be her best one. Why go outside? Laura training is too fun.
Going on in Rogerland? You been doing anything particularly interesting?
Laura training, she trains on what she pleases. Laura training, no paying corporate sleep.
G Cloud and also the equivalent for RunPod.
Nice.
And trying to kind of figure out the workflows there, but it's working much slicker than the kind of hard-coded thing that I had before. So
good. What up, Michael? What up, Saito? Except Saito took off. How we doing? Let's see. Well, I think we will be in for a good one today. As I don't know if anybody happened to see it over in general. Let me just make sure that I have all the right stuff up. If I share the screen with this over, this one is probably going to be the best. Right here, yeah? Okay, cool. Do we see that? We got a little web page over here that is for the Prox Founding Engineer Challenge. You might have seen the link over there in general, actually. Yeah, I'm curious to hear more on have you actually managed to get it to successfully deploy anything, or are you still kind of like tinkering on the RunPod front? Or on the RunPod, I suppose, RunPod and gcloud.
Yeah, so they're slightly different because one's a VM, one is a container, and so I was managing them a little bit different. So I got into the RunPod got a little complicated because I was trying to use the run dangerously or dangerously skip permissions, and was getting rejected for that because you can't do that as super user. I don't know. I
Oh,
don't know if you.
I could see that being an issue. Can you not do that as super user? That or so
Well,
you?
it complained, and so I went down a big path of figuring out, like, I would create a special user that, whenever I launched a pod, I'd create a special user and then go download my project as the special user, blah, 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 blah. Um, but fiddling around today, I found a nice little environmental variable is sandbox. Um,
Ah,
and if you set that environmental variable, it skips the root permission checking. Yeah, let's see.
yeah. I'll give it a go here. See if that'll actually fire it. Because what I'm thinking is you could either sudo su and just get your root level Claude up. My Claude tends to be kind of cranky. Okay, yeah, cannot be used with root or sudo privileges for security reasons. How
Okay, so
interesting.
let's try setting is underscore sandbox.
Just is underscore sandbox equals true.
I think, yeah, I think, I'll double check to make sure that's it, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
And then do I keep the sudo there or no?
Yeah, no, check to see if you can do sudo and run it as root with dangerously skip.
Is sandbox is true. No, not for me. Maybe I got the
Maybe I got the variable wrong. Hold on a sec,
yeah,
let me
no
see.
worries. Echo is sandbox is true. Interesting. Yeah, at least for me, like yeah, for the majority of my infra work, I actually have codecs, and I have a little like infra folder, and you'll see that I'm often installing, or I'm often like, hey, here's so this was, this is me like having it deploy Radical, allow for the home server to register accounts and like change the config stuff on all of that infra. And then, yeah, can you get this deployed up via Coolify to the GCP server? And it turns out that Paperclip is actually not that well suited to doing that, but that is an excellent segue to one of the things I wanted to talk about today. What up, Odie? How we doing? Kev, how's it going? Feel free to, if you guys have anything that you want to share, or you're working on, or want some extra accountability on, to hop up to the stage and yap about it. But today I figured my kind of linchpin for the session would be Paperclip, which is an orchestrator for multiple instances of OpenClaw or whatever you're using. I'm using Hermes in my case, but the general idea being like you get like a little CEO, CMO, CTO, etc., etc. I haven't found it to be my favorite way to interface with these things, but for me, it's an interesting start. Like there's some good stuff that I like about from it. One of the interesting points that I thought for it was this. So paperclip, you can use whatever. You can use whatever. Actually, we'll probably just go through the onboarding here because I wanted to throw this challenge at it. So this is going to be Founding Engineers Inc. Wonder if can I just do a launch? I have to do the agent. Yeah. So paperclip itself just uses adapters to hook into your existing coding agents, Claude Code, Codex, Gemini, etc., etc. I've been using Hermes personally lately. Yeah, I thought I would demo this a little bit, and we can kind of see how far these little agents can get with this little challenge that got posted in general earlier, to see if what we can come out of this with is a paperclip company that is now or that at least is making a decent attempt at a founding engineers challenge here. So I thought that would be the kind of general activity. But I expect that's going to be a good amount of configurating and stuff like that. So I encourage, if any of you guys are working on anything interesting, or if you got anything that's on your mind, to let me know, or to hop up and give us a yap about it. Yeah, we'll go through a little bit of, I guess, the down low on paperclip. There are a couple of other applications that are kind of like this one. One of them is conductor.build. And what I notice is basically everybody is also doing this too. So you can see conductor, there's a melty helm, there's a swipe, like there's different kinds of projects, as you saw earlier in Codex. Yeah, so all of these kind of little orchestrator guys are how you make your own Pulsia, basically. Codex, we have our different threads, we have our different projects with individual threads in them, and then we have plugins and automations, obviously, stuff like that. So I haven't been leveraging the automations from that are built into Codex or anything like that. Have any of you guys used any either Claude Dispatch or any of the automations in Codex? Have you guys played around with that at all? I'm curious. Because Claude, no. Claude also has some cool new stuff too. I find I need so little setup for Codex. Yeah. I also feel like I'm leaving money on the table when I'm like, this is a whole section that I presumably could be getting value out of. But yeah, I find very often I kind of feel like I want to point Codex at itself and be like, set me up good automations that this company is trying to become the founding engineer for procs. Okay, I'm going to do Hermes. We're going to see if we can test that adapter. I should be working because it was working like not so long ago. So we'll do this. We're going to create this and open the issue. And now we have a CEO agent here. We're going to make a new want to complete the challenge in the most robust way possible. Alright, so now I have that issue there. So this guy should be working. I just want to check his config and make sure. Hermes agent local. We want GPT-5.4. It's the one that we want. And then I believe that one of my we can engage with that session via Hermes P. Oh, why is there no local paperclip profile anymore? That's kind of strange. Hermes is a session starting in Hermes. So we'll get rid of this now. Test this, make sure it works. Okay. And then I want to see, we get a system message, which is where I can find, which would be where I can find my my Hermes session ID. But I'm not sure that this is actually working, so... Oh, yes it is. We're going to go ahead and approve that hire. So now we have 2 agents. And then this guy is in the inbox here. So now this is in to-do. So he should pick that up as soon as he's considered this finished. So we will see if that actually works. You can see some of the other stuff that I've been working on. So I have like a bunch of agents over here on this one. And I found that I don't want to leak my keys here, so I found one of the issues to be that it wasn't able to create files on my local machine as I was hoping for. So there's a couple little like rough edges, I guess. And now we have 2 live. Audit paperclip and recommend the thinnest MVP for procs. There we go. So for the founding engineer could ship. Okay, and then I want to see, can I do the issue? FOU. C, okay. So now I want to go to the dashboard. And then I want this to move up in priority. So can we do a critical here? And then can we like assign somebody to this? Oh, CO timed out. So yeah, there's a little bit of jank going on with this. But there you do get tickets starting to get kicked off. We do have some amount of automation in here that I like. There was a couple of deep wiki queries. Deep wiki, yeah. And I had asked the other day, the illusion of progress, true. But as you can see, I have actually made like some amount of progress going on here. So I have a few GitHub repos that did get created. I haven't actually looked at them. So let's take a look at what our newest repos were. Yeah, so these were our newest ones here. So it created the repos. I don't know if it actually put anything in any of them. Unfortunate. Yeah, it appears like a no. Okay, so let's make an issue for that. And say GitHub repos are created. Can you now, for any code or applications built thus far, push them up to the correct repo? So supposedly there's some Docker composes as well, but one of the issues that I've found with this is that it's kind of hard to tell where the artifacts are that this thing ends up creating. So I'm kind of trying to lean on GitHub before I really dig in and try to figure that out. Yeah, I wanted to... Same, dude. So, like, it is very much the illusion of progress. It's very much, like, super, super early and pretty rough. But, like, I have... like, supposedly there is something that has been shipped. I just haven't actually found it yet. So it's running, there's running some Python tests. They do exist. Supposedly they're passing. We'll kind of see if that ends up actually happening. But this should have reopened. And this was struggling for a long time because it didn't have the correct GitHub token to be able to do that. But now it does. And so hopefully I haven't leaked that GitHub token. But let's take a look and see if this... Yeah. So what I'd like to do is stop this guy from working on this. Can I cancel this run? Yeah, let's cancel that run. Okay, so if that's canceled, he should be free. So now if I take this, and then I assignee, can I assign that to our founding engineer? Investigate the challenge first before we plan our MVP. And so theoretically, somebody should be cooking. And so there are some like kind of automations in this, but the automations tend to be like working against me, I've found, because obviously this paperclip audit is not wasn't even something that I wanted completed, and I want this live, which is good. So now I should look at this agent and make sure. We should check out the details of the run here. Okay, so this is the one that's currently in progress, which is good. We want that. And then most recently, adapter failed. Oh no. Clippy, can you work with me? True. Let's see. Adapter failed? Adapter shouldn't have failed. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. Still running, apparently. My Clippy turned out. The other, there's a couple of like little nice things. Status to do, reopen from done. Why are you reopening that? Maybe he's creating a hiring plan. I'm not entirely sure. But as you can see, like there's some amount of automation kind of automatically happening. Another kind of like little nice thing is I can kick this guy on to run a heartbeat every now and again. Just to kind of keep things moving if I need to, which is kind of nice. So let me hop to my terminal and go Hermes sessions list. No sessions found. That's very strange. I did just do like a big cleanup, so that's probably why. And it would be strange to me if there are no Hermes sessions available. I wonder if I can I do like a Hermes help. Can I do Hermes C profile? Yeah, Hermes profile. Oh, it shouldn't be on Hermes local. That's probably, let's do Hermes. We want home Hermes. That's what we want. Just run this. Okay, Hermes profiles. Hermes profile. Local. Okay, there we go. Hermes. There we go. Okay, So now I should have my profiles back. Okay, so we have more user messages here. Let's see what user messages we had. So the thing is, yeah, I keep getting like heartbeat wakes, surfacing things as in progress, which sounds convenient. When he says hire an agent, yeah, it's just spin up a sub-agent. They use the phrasing hire because we have costs, so we can assign budgets to each of the agents. So if I'm using like an expensive model via API, I can gate them as to how much work I want them doing. But since I'm running them all through my codec subscription, then yeah, so we can like hire a haiku for a really dumb task. Basically, the idea being I can set like budget policies, etc., etc., or I have like I can do per agent stuff somehow. I'm not entirely sure, but and then yeah, I get like a nice like activity log of all of the stuff that I've done. So there's some parts of it that I like. Org chart is interesting in that I can import and export companies, so we could, in theory, although the importing of a company or exporting of a company, I'm not sure how deep that is. It would be interesting to import an entire org chart and also get all of the, let's see. Okay, founding engineer is queued, but he's working on the wrong one. So if I could have that. Okay, this is marked as done currently. Should provide a repo, expect one issue. Okay. Prox focused. Okay, so proof of value. Interesting. So yeah, some of this is, yeah, so like paperclip is kind of like automating a portion of this process, but it's kind of like the automations are like getting in my way to some degree. And it's also like it's trying to be smarter than it actually is. So it's doing like kind of random weird stuff instead of stuff that I actually want. So I'm not sure that paperclip is really like my favorite orchestrator thus far, but I like the form factor of having something like external, local, remote, like some amount of automations that my existing agents just kind of hook up to kind of get their work done. It would be ideal, and I'd love to show it. Let me see. Yeah, so normally, is this going to have I kind of want, see if I can find this session stuff. System messages. Resuming session. Okay, so we found a session here. And this is with the CEO, so I should be able to Hermes sessions list. Okay, and then this one was 2 minutes ago. E0730 66D57 587. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so Hermes sessions special shop. And then can I do export rename browse? Yeah. Sessions browse, and then this one I can resume that session, and then hopefully, yeah, so now I can hop into that, and we can see that. So now that we are in there, we have kind of two interfaces. Can you reassign the issues for the Founding engineer needs to review projects procs challenge prior to doing any development work. So I haven't tried this path before of hopping into the session manually and trying to interrupt. But we're going to see if Hermes can handle it here. I am quite intrigued to see if he can, perhaps. And then I wonder, system messages. Okay, so we had an exit code 0 in paperclip, and I'm wondering, okay, so this is queued, and then okay, so this is says it's live. We have 3 in theory live here. So I believe it would be dashboard. Yeah, so he's working on this operator workflow demo. Yeah. The illusion of progress, as Odie said earlier. So yeah, there's like a good bit of jank in it, but I can see something here that I like, essentially. And I can get like a little bit of stuff done, but it's very like, I feel like if I go back and I check this out in like 90 days or so, it'll probably be at a point where I can actually use it. Because there's some amount of automations that are just like, feel like they're firing at the wrong times and are just like not helpful, but it can actually orchestrate the agents to some degree. So now we're working on this. So hopefully the founding engineer is not going to time out on this one. Okay. Yes. Okay. So CEO direction update was successfully able to do that. There we go. Added a CEO direction comment, added it, explicitly blocked it. There we go. Okay. Okay. So there's like a little bit of back and forth in here. I can hop into the sessions and back out. And then I think I have CEO's heartbeat firing right now, or it keeps reopening that ticket and I can't figure out why. There's a lot of like kind of random reopenings happening somewhat frequently. Although I'm assuming that maybe because this has a dependent ticket that's still marked as backlog and not to do. Okay, so there's a dependent ticket here, which
So you can chat with it right immediately up front, which is the original experience.
you got an NPX? No such luck. Rip. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so
the
we do it globally now is the move, yeah.
Yeah, the NPM stuff's been extremely hard to maintain and make sure it works on everyone's machine. I think kind of our mistake early on was bringing the CLI in before we had the cloud. I think our CLI would have been 100 times better if we had waited to the cloud and leaned on its service to kind of fill the gaps in the CLI, since most CLI tools are for using cloud products.
Right. There we go. There we go. We got it. It's all happening. Yeah, there's something to be said. I think there is the one of the like files somewhere. Yeah, CD profiles. Yeah, so I have like my local GLM paperclip has it like different model settings. My local paperclip is my one I'm supposed to be using for paperclip. and then I have my local terminal, and then I have modal Discord. And so these are kind of like configuration profiles slash like different backends as well, since I have like my modal Discord one is supposed to be the same one that is the Hermes that you can at from the stage. Hermes, hey, say hi. Test it.
Does it also bleed into gateways too? So it's the input connectors as well inside a profile, or are those separate?
I believe all of these, so these three, GLM paperclip, local paperclip, and local terminal should all run off my local gateway, but then modal Discord is supposed to live on my modal. No, if I go Hermes P modal Discord sessions list. Haha. Okay. And then if I do, there's a little, obviously, there's a lot of like moving parts, a lot of like auth to worry about with this, which is why like there's the quest to have like the ultimate orchestration, like many of is living separately from the agents, so it's just gonna have to, it just deals with like auth and session tokens in the same way that like a linear or any other application would do. And then like warp, conductor, Claude code, those are all like they're built by the same people that make the application. So obviously this is going to be like kind of the smoothest if it ends up making it in here, but this also doesn't do everything I want it to do. And then there's also the question of like, okay, what all is going to get handled by the Codex desktop app, where if I am like an agent application developer, where I'm at least like not adding a bunch of tech debt to add features that the bigger guys are all starting to add. It seems to me that one is kind of in the place where, or like, since the agents are kind of getting to the point where orchestrating them is starting to look like it's becoming feasible, there's all these questions to answer, and everybody's all trying to answer them at the same time. So I'm quite, it feels like I guess I have my periods of agent, of ways that I interface with agents. I kind of have like, okay, here's a threshold, like here, we made it to a plateau, it's stable for a while, so now I want to play around. And then I have a like, everything's in flux, there's too much crap happening, I'm just gonna wait. And it feels like a very like wait juncture for me right now, at least in terms of running multiple of these at the same time. But I do want to start playing more with more of the orchestration tools. It's kind of where my head's at. Like I feel pretty solid with the usage of Claude Code, usage of things like Factory, like basic single agent CLIs. Those feel usable to me. Those feel kind of like figured out. So in terms of like where I'm at with the next toys I want to play with are probably things like Conductor and Paperclip and like seeing how these orchestration patterns work. But yeah, I think Roger, you raised like a really solid point there of we're definitely unnecessarily anthropomorphizing these, and I want to see more of the other shapes that we get into that uses Builder Z Labs, got it. And so this has a sort of a task decomposition system built into it that's just using the BR instead of BD, but basically just beads. And then it has like a little bit of permissions, but it's primarily for coding tasks. I haven't really put it to work doing non-coding stuff. So I'm interested to see where that goes. Like for instance, on my paperclip, one of our goals is like, hey, we want to do some, I'm interested in the weird ones, and I think there's some benefit, but also some cost that comes alongside with doing the kind of standard like CEO, kind of founding engineer. I think my last one had like UX, UI, stuff like that. But I want to do weird stuff like make an agent that's called. My head is going, but then
Yeah.
you could get even farther down the chain with that too.
Yeah, I think the human brain is designed to work around and interact with humans. So the more human-like it is, the more enjoyable the experience is.
Mm.
And like I said, the more personality you put on there, the more they're gonna maybe conflict with your own personality if they're not entirely compatible. But that's not the worst thing in the world either. It might, like I said, push you to grow. So it's kind of like this maybe entertainment or gamification you can add to make the experience better. It's definitely more entertaining to debug with a a personality than without one. And
Nice thing UX wise. At least for me, as somebody who is, or like, when I'm thinking about building for other people, I might, kind of intentionally deviate over into this sort of like pattern of like make the thing look like a little robot person. But for me, I'm interested in like what is the best thing that I can use? Like what is the potential that I could unlock out of this? And for me, it feels like in that case, it feels like these personalities are limiters, but the concept of a personality is not necessarily a limiter. Like I'm wondering, what all could we get out of the available semantic information of telling a thing that it is a bike, and what it does is it runs around and finds information and grabs it and gets it to the right person. As just like a random example of a pattern that I want to try, and that, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, no, I was just going to inject that. So I think that, one value is that it has value not necessarily to the agent, but it has value to us.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow it gives us a concept of what are the types of things that it should be doing. The part that matters, I think, the most to the agent is what is the context does that load up?
Mm-hmm.
A description, a role description causes it to load in certain context or another. So thinking of it more from a context management perspective, regardless of what the name is. But there's also one more angle that would be an interesting experiment along what you're talking about, and that is that it may be baked into the feed forward networks. There may be some sort of behavior associated with the title CEO, right? That it's picked up through its training. So it would be interesting to see how much of that is being pulled in to just have the exact same agent description file, but call it bird or whatever, or trike or whatever, and just see if the quality changes when it has a different
that
name.
would be interesting. I would be interesting to remove like keep all of the instructions the same, but remove the phrase CEO from it entirely.
Exactly.
Just drop that first sentence that says you are the CEO, but just give it only the responsibilities, and then
Right.
then I would be interested to see. Is anybody aware of benchmarks that that are like persona based benchmarks? Like if I prompt it to be a CEO, or if I prompt it to be a software engineer, how well does it do on a task versus not being prompted to be those things? Would be interesting. I think some interesting work to explore would be my thought. I would prefer my agent were a local model and I actually fine-tuned the persona into the weight so it didn't need a big markdown file reminding it. Yeah. I've been quite interested in Doc to Laura lately, in which you can you get to remove the actual. Basically, you take a selection of documents, you train them as a LoRa, and then you can remove the documents themselves from context so they're not hogging anything, but it still has all of the information stored in the weights there.
Right.
Which I think doing something like this to these kind of like soul.md or identity.md things could be an interesting way to kind of color the full context of it, because if it's stored directly into those weights, then it's going to be kind of uniform in context, as opposed to being a big blob that's like arbitrarily at the top near the system prompt that is hopefully going to like end up in the kinds of behaviors that I'm seeing. I would be interested to kind of do some benchmarks kind of around that sort of general conceptual area. Well, yeah, we're coming up on top of the hour. Does anybody have anything that you're working on, anything that you would like to achieve by next week that you would like some accountability on as well? Is something that I always try to open up the floor for. Raj, you got anything that you're cooking on, or that you'd be interested to get some feedback on in the next anything you want to have some extra accountability, or anything that you want to bring by next week, or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm not sure I want accountability. I was playing with right now. I've been playing with this idea of training a model from the outside in, instead of training the whole model as a solid block.
Huh.
So the idea that you could kind of train early layers and freeze them at some point, and train the next layers, etc. So if I get any interesting results on that, I'll share them. But
please do. That sounds super interesting. At the going all the way down into the layers.